Reported speech and indirect speech. Reported speech is a way of speaking. It is a way of repeating what someone has told us, something we have read, or something we may have overheard or listened to, at any given time and at any given place. When we repeat exactly what a person says, this is called a direct quotation. Nevertheless, we generally tend to report and not to quote people directly. For instance, John said, "I am happy." This is exactly what John said. But when we are telling people what John said, we use reported speech and indirect speech. Reported speech generally is used to express what someone has finished saying. Therefore, if a person speaks in present or future, when we report what they say, we have to use the past tense and a past-future projection. For instance, Tom walks into the room and says, "I am happy today." Now, when I report what Tom just said, observe. I said what Tom just said. This means I'm going to speak in past because I'm going to report his message. So, in reported speech, I would say, Tom walked into the room and said he was happy that day. Now, if he walks into the room and says, "I will graduate this year no matter what," then I would report that he walked into the room and said that he would graduate this year. Now, if I'm speaking in past, present perfect, or past perfect, we step back and use the past perfect. For instance, John says he has been to many countries around the world. So you ask me, what did John say? And I would answer, he said he had been in many countries around the world. Indirect speech is also used to report what people say or to ask questions indirectly. These indirect questions are generally noun clauses because they replace nouns in sentences. For instance, when I ask simple yes or no questions or choice questions, I simply use the word if and I repeat the original question, but now it has an affirmative structure. For instance, are you happy? This is a normal question, but if I ask this indirectly, first I introduce it with an idea like, I need to know if you're happy. Other expressions can be, tell me, please let me know, do you know? Or we can respond, I don't know, I can't tell you, I have no idea. Or we can suggest, let's ask John. Why don't we ask someone? Shall we find out? Etc. Remember, yes-no questions simply use if and assume an affirmative structure. Again, the auxiliary verbs do, does, and did are never used. All the other auxiliary verbs or modal auxiliary verbs work using an affirmative-like structure. Do you like music? This question is asking me if I like music. When we have information questions, we have to consider if the question is a subject question or an object question. This is important because subject questions never change. For instance, who directs the country? I don't know who directs the country. Can you tell me who directs the country? Observe, in this case, the question, can you tell me who directs the country, is the information we want to know, but not the question. The question is, can you tell me? I can respond, I have no idea who directs the country. Observe, in this case, it is not a question. When it is an object question and the question uses the auxiliary verbs do, does, and did, these auxiliary verbs are eliminated, like when we say, where do you live? This question asks me where I live or where my house is. Observe how I do not say, where is my house? Because this is not a question. It is an indirect statement or idea. What time do you get up? The question is asking me what time I get up. How do you feel every day? The question wants to know how I feel every day. Now, if I mix reported speech and indirect speech, this is what I get. John walks into the room and asks, did you finish your work? And where are you going after lunch? Now to report this I say, John walked into the room and asked me if I had finished my work and where I was going after lunch.